issued a proclamation. I shall read this proclamation because if the governor has proclaimed something, certainly we must follow the rules and the guidelines of our governor. State of Oklahoma Executive Department proclamation. Whereas Madam Jessie Renfro Sapp began her musical career at an early age in Dallas, Texas, and whereas she joined her high school musical group in Dallas and performed for many local organizations, namely hospitals, jails, nursing homes, and others as requested. And whereas at the age of 16, she organized her own singing group and traveled throughout the great state of Texas. And whereas in 1951, she became a recording artist with Peacock Recording Company of Houston, Texas, and continued this for approximately 20 years. And whereas Madam Sapp has appeared at the Apollo Theater in New York, Park Palace, Madison Square Garden, the Metropolitan Auditorium in Philadelphia, Laurel Gardens in New Jersey, and whereas Madam Jessie Renfro Sapp has worked with many national gospel artists such as Mahalia Jackson, Brother Joe May, Professor Alex Bradford, and Clara Ward, and whereas since being in Oklahoma City for more than 30 years, she has organized many state and local musical groups, which she hopes to continue throughout her life. And whereas this outstanding lady is being honored by her many friends in a golden singing salute in Oklahoma City, she has been described by many as Oklahoma's greatest in gospel music. Now, therefore, I, George Nye, Governor of the state of Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim October the 5th and through the 6th, 1985 as Madam Jessie May Renfro Sapp Weekend in the state of Oklahoma. Signed, George Nye, Governor of the state of Oklahoma. This is Madam Jessie Renfro Sapp's Weekend, and certainly Clara Luper's radio program today is dedicated to Mrs. Sapp. Stay tuned now. This portion of our program is being brought to you by Rainbow, and Rainbow is good to bread. I would like to start off this week by thanking those of you that went to the Capital Tire and Automotive Incorporation located at 23rd and Kelly. That's northeast at 23rd and Kelly. I would like to thank those of you that have called me this week and you have told me that you went by. Now, this week is a week that you go by and buy. I want you to look at the tires, and I want you to compare prices. They are at competitive prices with any tires in Oklahoma City. I want you to notice the tire balancing, computerized, hunter spin on the car, static balancer. You're having brake trouble? Don't worry. Take it to Capital Tire and Automotive Incorporated. They have complete brake service, batteries, the most sophisticated equipment for front-end maintenance in Oklahoma City. They will give you an oil change, and I'm talking about a clean oil change and lubrication. You have a flat? Don't worry about it. They will repair your flat so quick it will make your head swim. They will give you free transportation to work while your car is being serviced. Now, this has to be done by appointment. You can make an appointment for your car by calling 424-0044, 424-0045, 424-0046. One thing that will impress you about the Capital Tire and Automotive Incorporated is the fact that they have a nice warm atmosphere and waiting room for your convenience if you decide to wait. They will serve you free coffee with cream or without cream, with sugar or without sugar. They give extra care to ladies. I am proud to announce that Leroy Miller is a sales and shop manager, an experienced sales and shop manager, working for years for Joe Esco, a man with the know-how. Leroy Miller. Mr. Riley Jones Sr. is the general manager. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce again, women continue to move on up. We are moving up. Mrs. Lois M. Felder, a world-renowned traveler, is the president of Capital Tire and Automotive Incorporated and becomes the first female, black or white, to own a tire and automotive services in the state of Oklahoma. Now, so many of you have told me that your friends, what are my friends doing? If I just had a friend that was in this business, well, I tell you, you have a friend. Mrs. Lois M. Felder is the president. Now, they will be having a grand opening, and you will be getting some invitations. And if you don't get an invitation, it's because you are coming anyway. And I would like to invite all of you to the grand opening. And next week, Mrs. Felder will be here with me, and we will go into details about that big grand opening. Do you need a job, a part-time job? Well, I tell you what, I know a security service that's interested in a part-time security person. Now, this person's qualifications must be so he or she can carry a gun. You may call 424-5271, that's the office number, or you may call 769-3907. Now, when you call, ask for Mr. Cartwright. Now, that's 769-3907. They service banks, shopping centers, stores, and businesses of all kinds. Brother President, the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., starring Ronald Moore, Arnett Gaines, Shirley Lovelace, and an all-star cast. Music directed by Mr. Leonardo DeBose and performed by his special singers, soloist Alice Simpson, Loretta Palmer, and Teresa Blassingale. Written, produced, and directed by Clara Luper with Richard Garrett as an associate director and producer. Filmed by the Cinnamon students from Oklahoma University under the direction of Dr. Ned Hockman. This movie will be shown at McGuire Plaza, 1316 Northeast 13th Street, 7 p.m., October the 19th, 1985. Donation $3. If you want to help McGuire Plaza, and if you want to see a good movie, go to McGuire Plaza, 1316 Northeast 13th Street, and purchase your tickets. Tickets are on sale. I want to give away a ticket today, and I'll be telling you more about that later in the show. That's October the 19th, 1985 at 7 p.m. Mrs. Purnell will be happy to wait on you along with the other beautiful young ladies that are working on that project. Now, some of you at McGuire Plaza and Jeltz, I've been getting on your cases because you just want to get old. I don't want you to get old. I want you to court and enjoy life. I want you to court. Now, those of you at Jeltz, try to get you a date from McGuire Plaza so you will have somebody to go to the movie to see Brother President. Now, if you don't know the ladies that you would like to take, don't take but one, no. Give her a call and tell her that you would like to take her to a movie. We want to see how many dates we can get for Brother President. Story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. No longer can the people at McGuire Plaza say, I can't get out. The movie is coming to you, and it's going to be a complete sellout. So therefore, this is a week that you get your tickets because we will announce to you next week that you are too late. So those of you at McGuire Plaza, see Mrs. Purnell. The tickets are $3, and it's for Brother President, the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and you cannot afford to miss it. The story of Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the top stories in the United States. Now, it's no if and and about it. Nothing else has been produced like it. It will, those of you that will be going to the Teachers Association in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you will be getting additional information about Brother President because you might want your people to be informed about Martin Luther King Jr. and his contribution to mankind. It's really interesting to notice history. Today I want to talk about Miss America, Susan Atkins from Mississippi. There's a shocking new Miss America scandal involving just crowned Susan Atkins. Both her father and her grandfather were arrested for involvement in 3 notorious civil rights murders. The 21-year-old beauty stated that everybody has skeletons in their closet. I don't feel that any of mine would be any different from anybody else's. and I would not be embarrassed about what my father and my grandfather did. Now, Susan's father and grandfather were both arrested in connection with the cold-blooded murders of 3 civil rights workers in Philadelphia, Mississippi in 1964. Both were members of Mississippi's infamous Ku Klux Klan, and the grandfather was a high-ranking KKK official. Susan's father was convicted of assaulting a police officer in 1978. Her father was also convicted of threatening to kill his second wife in 1981. The revelations are another shocking blow for the Miss America pageant, which had barely recovered from the scandal in which Vanessa Williams was forced to give up her 1984 crown. Now, Susan Atkins has been living under the cloud all of her life, according to her mother. From the moment she was selected to represent Mississippi in the Miss America pageant, she knew that her father's crime and her grandfather's crime would come back to haunt her. Now, it also should be noted that no one was found guilty in Mississippi for killing a black or a white person that was concerned with civil rights. The FBI discovered during the time that they were looking for the murderers of the 3 men that they could not go into the official records of the Ku Klux Klan because officers never in Mississippi would dare get blood on their hands. Now, it is true that the new Miss America, Susan Atkins, from the great state of Mississippi, father and grandfather were arrested and involved in 3 civil rights murderers. However, the courts in Mississippi found them innocent. Clara Luper reporting, KAEZ Radio in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. This program today is dedicated to the First Lady in Gospel. The First Lady in Gospel. That's Gospel. Well, homecoming week activities will soon be starting at Langston University, October the 20th and 20th through the 26th. This will be the largest homecoming in the history of Langston University. On Saturday, October the 26th, there will be a special presentation of papers to the G. Lamar Library from Dr. G. Lamar Harrison, a former president of Langston University. At 10:30 a.m., there will be a alumni reunion brunch at the Gales Gymnasium. At 12 o'clock, the parade will line up. The parade will kick off at 12:30 p.m. At 1 o'clock p.m., there will be the largest pre-game band show in the history of Langston University. At 3:30 p.m., it will be Langston University versus Cameron University. We will have to make that one the largest homecoming in the history of Langston University. Nash Mitchell's Bonding Company is located at 2319 North Lottie here in Oklahoma City. Mr. Mitchell will get you city bonds, county bonds, and federal bonds. Whatever kind of bond that you need, call 427-8199. That's the office number, and the home number is 427-2862. That's Mr. Nash Mitchell of the Mitchell's Bonding Company. The M&J's Furniture Company is located at 910 Northeast 4th Street here in Oklahoma City. Are you looking for specific furnishings to complement that special room? Or perhaps you are looking for an unusual and unique accessory to enhance your decor? Then stop by M&J's Furniture in the heart of the east side of Oklahoma City, located at 910 Northeast 4th Street. It's your neighborhood furniture store. For the finest in-home furnishings and accessories at prices that you can afford, certainly go to M&J's Furniture, 910 Northeast 4th Street. Open Tuesdays through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. They are closed on Sundays and Mondays. Now remember, it's the M&J's Furniture, 910 Northeast 4th Street here in Oklahoma City. Tell them you heard it on the Clara Luper Show and receive an additional 10% discount on already low-priced items. That's the M&J's Furniture Company here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And here's your favorite reporter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shelly Marie Luper Wilson bringing to you the latest sports scores. Bartlesville over Shawnee 17 to 14. Carl Albert defeated Western Heights 49 to 18. Cassidy beat Prague 14 to 7. Crescent over Deer Creek 7 to 0. Crooked Oak over Tonkawa 20 to 0. Guthrie beat Choctaw 23 to 14. Harrah over Tecumseh 25 to 6. Heritage Hall defeated Kingfisher 9 to 7. John Marshall beat Capitol Hill 20 to 0. Northeast over Durant 21 to 14. McGinnis defeated Cassica Hall 28 to 7. Millwood beat Douglas 22 to 21. Mustang over Yukon 20 to 9. Norman defeated Moore 31 to 13. Oak Muggy beat El Reno 16 to 14. Putnam West over Putnam City 21 to 6. And Star Spencer defeated Southeast 7 to 0.
Shall I understand that Millwood Douglas game was some game, and you have a lot of people talking about that game. Have you heard anything about it?
Not very much.
Okay, not very much, but you've heard a lot about it. We've had people to tell us that game was unfair. They tell me that something happened, and certainly I don't know, but the people are talking about that game. What's the truth about it? We do not know, but we do know that the people are talking about that Millwood Douglas game. What would you say if I told you today about some family business? Suppose I would tell you about the Mapco Auto Parts, a family business located in 3 locations. Write them down for me. 10708 in Northwestern, that's Western and Penn. 2033 Northeast 23rd Street. 14030 Southeast 29th in Choctaw, Oklahoma. Suppose that I would tell you that Mapco Auto Parts, one of the newest black-owned businesses in Oklahoma City. It's new, it's different, it's professional, it's beautiful. Goodyear products, yes, 14 years. Officers of MAPCO worked for other companies. But working for other companies, they learn, and they have put it in a family business. MAPCO Auto Parts. Now, if you need any kind of auto parts, any kind, I want you to go to 10708 Northwestern. If you live in that area, that's Western and Penn. I just want you to walk into MAPCO. I want you to look and see what people are doing. Some people say, well, what are these young blacks doing? This is the first generation of young blacks that have the opportunity to own business. And these young blacks, the owners of MAPCO Auto Parts, making it possible to give employment to blacks and whites, to service this community like it has never been serviced before. MAPCO, owned by the Princes, and I will be telling you more about that. That's the MAPCO Auto Parts. And when you see that big MAPCO, tell them that you heard about it on the Clara Luper show, and go in and get your auto parts. That's MAPCO Auto Parts. Let me give you the 3 locations again. Those of you in Choctaw and Spencer area, go to 14030 Southeast 29th Street in Choctaw, Oklahoma. Those on the northeast side, go to 2033 Northeast 23rd Street. Those in the northwest part of town, go to 10708 Northwestern here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The M&W Welding Company is located at 2601 Northeast 23rd Street. The telephone number is 424-1482. And if you need some burglar bars, all you'll have to do is go to the M&W Welding Company, 2601 Northeast 23rd Street here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We would like to congratulate the Urban League, and next week Dwight Scott will be here with us as we talk about the No Crime Sunday. And certainly we need to not only talk about it, we need to do something about it. This evening a few minutes before I came here, I had the worst experience of my life. I was going to my church which is the Fifth Street Baptist Church located at 801 Northeast Fifth Street. And as I turned on Fifth and Laird, I saw my friend, Mrs. Isaac, standing out in the street surrounded by policemen crying. I stopped and tried to see what was wrong, and Mrs. Isaac told me that a group of young blacks surrounded her house, and while she was talking, some of them ran in, got her purse with all of the money that she had in it, took the top off her television and some other things, and ramshacked her house. And she stood out there this evening alone. I stayed with her a while, and then I went on to my church and went into a class and could not stay. I asked Mrs. Matoya, I asked someone in the class to come and go back with me. When I returned, Marilyn had already arrived, and she was on her way to church, and she was there with Mrs. Isaac. Mrs. Matoya and I went in. We offered the comfort that we knew how to do. I had the opportunity to talk to the police officers that had, ladies and gentlemen, 4 little boys in the car, and the oldest one that was not 12 years old. Little boys. And when I looked at these little boys and I said, oh, I wish you would come to our church. I know somewhere down the line, those of us that are adults with a church in that neighborhood have certainly failed you young people. I just wish you would give us a chance and come and join us. And then we stood there and we watched as those little boys were carried to the police station. We need help. And I'm asking the people that live in that area, let us take care of our senior citizens. No race of people will ever survive if they do not respect senior citizens. And to you young men, and to you little boys that have seen it happen on television, don't let it happen to you. And I appreciate the fact that those young men, as I looked at them and as I talked to them, one of them said, you're Mrs. Luper, aren't you? And I said, yes, I want to help you. What can I do to help you? I would like to ask the parents in this area, please don't say what your children will do. I shall never say what my children will not do, because we all need help in raising our kids. But if anybody in that neighborhood sees some extra money or some extra fixtures, please see to it that Mrs. Isaac get everything returned back to her that was taken out of her house today. The NACP Youth Council for the past 26 years has had as one of its projects fighting crime. And we will be proud to march along with the Urban League and others on No Crime Sunday. We want to live in a city where there will be no crime on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Lady Ruth Hunter, my great friend of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, has arrived, and I need a report. I know that Tinker Field board member, that credit union, has been in the hospital, and I want a report on William Hunter. How is William Hunter doing?
Mrs. Luper, he's doing pretty well today. He's able to get up out of bed and sit up and walk around, and I think by next week he's going to be walking a little more. He was a little disappointed, but I think his spirit is a lot better today than it was when he went to the hospital on last Saturday. But I believe he's going to really recover and he's doing pretty well. And I sure appreciate you wanting to know how he is doing.
Well, last week I knew he was in the hospital, but I didn't want to tell all my friends because I wanted to wait until he had his surgery and was able to talk. Because if I know William Hunter, and if I know all of those African Methodist Episcopal people, and all of the people at the Tinker Field, all of his friends in the Garden Oaks Edition and throughout this city, I knew they would just swamp him, and I really wanted him to get well in a hurry.
He's had a number of friends visiting, although I didn't tell too many that he was there because I felt he needed the rest, and I really wanted him to recuperate as quickly as possible. But we had a number of friends to come by, and he got a number of cards, and he's got flowers and food and whatever else it would take for someone who is shut in to get well. And our neighbors have been just tremendously good neighbors. They've also called and come by to see how he's doing and see if there's anything that they can help me do while he is shut in. And I want to thank all of the friends that sent flowers and cards and bought food and whatever aid that you gave me. I do appreciate it, and Mr. Hunter also appreciates it.
Well, certainly, if you want some friends, you better make some friends before you get sick. Now, if you think you had some friends, I'm going to tell you about last night, and I'm going to tell you the greatest story that I've ever told you, and I've invited a lovely young lady to help me tell that story. But in the meantime, you need to check on your glasses, and you need your friends to check on their glasses. Senator Porter went down to Dr. A.L. Dow's and got him some glasses in order that he could see for the next legislature. And that's opening in January. And he went down in October, so he would be ready in January. Now, follow Senator Porter's leadership and go to Dr. A.L. Dow, located at 934 Northeast 8th Street. The telephone number for an appointment is 235-0536. The NAACP State Convention will be meeting in Oklahoma City this Friday and Saturday. I would like to repeat, the NAACP State Convention will be meeting in Oklahoma City this Friday and Saturday. Senator E. Melvin Porter will be the guest speaker at a luncheon on Friday. But on Friday night, Joseph E. Madison, the National Director of the NAACP Voter Education Department from Chicago, will speak at a mass meeting of the Oklahoma State Conference of NAACP branches. That's Friday, October the 11th, 1985, at the Tabernacle Baptist Church. Now, those of you that want to come to Tabernacle, you can come and you can see their new pastor. I've already seen it. The conference is being held at the Howard Johnson Motel, 5501 Lincoln Boulevard. And according to Cecil L. Williams, they will start arriving in Oklahoma City on Friday morning. Saturday is Youth Day, and I'm calling on the youth in Oklahoma City to get out to Howard Johnson's. Let's make this the largest youth program in the history of NAACP. And I would like to speak to the parents. This week, we are going to ask you, the parents, to register your children in the NAACP in our effort to combat crime. We want your children to stand with children from all over the state this week and say that we are, as an organization, not only against crime, but we are going to continue to fight for our rights. The NAACP is planning a 3,000-mile cross-country march. They are planning some political leadership training seminars. They are planning a fair share agreements with the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee. Now, Mr. Joseph E. Madison will be in Oklahoma City to tell you all about it. Saturday is Youth Day at the NAACP convention, and once again, we're asking all of the youth to get ready and be prepared. The most embarrassing thing in the world is for black children not to know anything about NAACP, and if it had not been for NAACP, black children would not be attending integrated schools, and black principals would be non-existent because they were not existing in the integrated society before the NAACP and the Dr. A.L. Dow case made it possible. We shall be calling on you. Now, your child's membership is $3. It will cost $3 to register, and the luncheon will be $6. We will see you and your children at the NAACP State Convention. We would like for you to help us make announcements in your churches, your sororities, your fraternities. Make announcements about the NAACP convention. The NAACP Youth Council will be meeting tomorrow evening at exactly 6:30 p.m. And we would like to have your participation, and that's bring an aluminum can to the NAACP. We need your support. Do you really want to save some money and gasoline and time? Then go to Enterprise Square Place. Oh, what a deal. You would be glad you did. 4901 North Martin Luther King Avenue is the place. It's called Enterprise Square Place. It's first class, and you're safe at last at Enterprise Square Place, 4901 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. One stop does it all. Listen, you can get your tags because they have a bona fide tag agency. You can pay all of your utility bills, gas, lights, water, telephone bills, all at Enterprise Square. You can also mail your packages, your letters, buy stamps. They have a bona fide United States Post Office. And you can get your clothes cleaned at Sherry's Cleaners. A laundromat is available to serve you. A complete laundry service, the best equipment. King Avenue. And this is a birthday. Wherever you are, sing happy birthday to Enterprise Square. 15 years old and still a growing. 15 years old Oh, what a deal. Congratulate. And all of you from Oak Mulgee, Oklahoma, and from Oklahoma County should certainly go in and congratulate your friend, Mr. A.E. McLaughlin. This is a Clara. Lady Ruth Hunter. I would like to once again congratulate you. You got your pastor back, didn't you? You got your pastor back.
Yes, indeed, we got our pastor back, Mrs. Luper, and we were happy that we did. Because he did not make too many changes, but the changes that were made, that were very, very few, and I feel that all of the ministers were happy with the charges that they received from our bishop. The bishop,
Baptist church, when we don't like a minister, we vote him out.
Well, in the Methodist church, it's a little different than in the Baptist church. Usually the bishop makes the assignment. Not usually, the bishop does make the assignment. The bishop makes all of the assignments. Now, if he is in need of a minister in a place that is really, really needing a good minister, he might make some changes because he only do it when he has to. Other than that, he doesn't change the ministers. As long as they're doing a good job and the members are happy with them, he does not move them. The members cannot move minister in the Baptist church because in the Methodist church.
Don't you say that about the Baptist church. We move them anytime.
Well, the Methodists do not move them in the Methodist church. We have to rely on the bishop. Whatever complaints we have the privilege to take them to the bishop, and we discuss them, and then the bishop renders his decision. And I'm happy that it is this way because this is a religious organization, and I don't feel that we have to go to court to settle a religious organization idea, because we're supposed to be Christians and we are supposed to know right from wrong. Now, mentioning right from wrong, Mrs. Luper, on Saturday night, I don't know if I know what's right and what's wrong, because Friday night, I was so disappointed Friday night, I'm trying to get my record straight. I guess that's why I'm so mixed up now, because I didn't know if things were right or things were wrong.
Okay, what happened on Friday night?
Well, I went to a football game, and I've taught school for 42 years. And in my teaching, I tried to teach students how to be good, honest citizens and to do right. But as I sat there in those bleachers at the Millwood and Douglas's game, I got up a lot of questions that I'd like to ask the audience.
I still want you to ask those questions.
Now, some of the questions were, when do you start the time clock? Do you start the time clock for the football boys to play when the referee places the ball down in play and steps off the football and turn his arm around like he's making a cartwheel? Is the clock supposed to start then, or you are supposed to start the clock after the play is made? That is when a number of times when the clock started. Only after the man had thrown the ball back to the quarterback. I guess that's the quarterback back there to catch the ball. And then another time, as we sat there and we saw two complete plays made, and the clock never got off of 5:11. Now, I'm just wondering, how is that clock supposed to operate? I'd like for somebody to tell me about the operation of that clock. Can you make two complete plays on a football field, and the clock never moved off of 5:11? Now, if this is possible, then my teaching, as the kids were telling me up there in the grandstand, Mrs. Hunter, is this the kind of teaching that you were telling us? So I'm trying to figure that out, because I'm almost sure that was right. Because if it wasn't right, I want somebody to tell me, because I know nothing that obvious would go on a football field. They say that they had something like 2,000 to 3,000 people there, with that many people there looking at it. So I know it wasn't wrong. It was just something about football timing that I do not know. And I'd like for somebody to call and inform me about this kind of timing. When do you start the clock? I just would like to know that.
Mrs. Hunter has asked you a question. Call her here at KAEZ and give her the answer. Well, it's Women's Day at the Fifth Street Baptist Church. It started off this morning with a breakfast. They call it a prayer breakfast. The speaker was Mrs. Dorothy Price, who certainly delivered a heartwarming speech. Mrs. Betty Wedgeworth was a program chairperson this morning. That was a welcome by Marva Crawford, the Lord's Prayer by Vivian Luke and Angela Graham. That was a reading, Shop With Me, Life is Like a Ball Game by Norvell Glover. Sing along, singing the songs that I love so well. by Miss Lucille Williams, songs like Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, A Warm Prayer by Mrs. Susie Fields, and then A Delicious Breakfast. Yes, it was the beginning of what is known at Fifth Street as Loyalty Month. This morning at 11 o'clock, Fifth Street Baptist Church heard one of the greatest Women's Day addresses that this reporter has ever heard. It was delivered by the president of the Oklahoma Baptist Women's Convention, Mrs. Helen Russ Warren. Mrs. Russ Warren challenged the Christians like they have never been challenged before. She told them that God was not a bellhop slave, and don't try to make God as a bellhop slave where you only call on him when you needed something desperately. She said that it doesn't make any difference how high you shout, but it is important what happens to you when your feet hit the ground. She continued to urge people to do what they can. Do something now. She says, do it now. And here's Shelley with a special announcement.
I would like to know who is the best football player in the Oklahoma City area, and I need your help in selecting one. So call me here at KZ Radio Station. The number is 424-3376. I need the player's name and what school he's from. So don't forget, the number again is 424-3376. And that was brought to you by Merlin Hildred. Merlin sells home insurance, life insurance, and car insurance. You can contact Merlin by calling 751-8435 or 424-6863.
I would like to publicly apologize to all of you out in Radio Land. If you can remember last week on this program, Rodney Foster and Mrs. Sapp was here. And at that time, I told him that I did not believe they would have a choir of 500 people. I also did not believe that 3,000 people would fill the auditorium at Thompson's Temple that's located on Northeast 2nd Street, the 900 block. Now, that's what I thought. But once again, let me remind you that I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma. And today I would like to apologize for my lack of faith. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There were more people at the Madam Jessie Mae Renfro's Sapp's Golden Gospel Singing Salute than there were in my hometown, Hoffman, Oklahoma, in your hometown, Clearview, in your hometown, Berner, in your hometown, Okmulgee. There were some people there. I have never in my life seen anything like it. Now let's go through what happened. Let's just look at some of the congratulations that came in. There were congratulations from Mrs. B.M. Lang, who is a state supervisor of the women's department. There were congratulations from Mrs. Maddie McLaughlin from Memphis, Tennessee, who's president of the Women's International Convention. There were congratulations from Bishop W.E. Jeffries, who arrived in all of his dignity as the crowd stood. There were congratulations once again from J.O. Patterson, the presiding bishop out of Memphis, Tennessee. There were congratulations from friends like Eloise Harris, Cheryl Fowler, Joanne Duckworth, Patsy Ruth Deloney, Raymond Mason, Gregory Jones. There were congratulations from people that had been with us through the years. From one congratulations from the O'Neill twins out of St. Louis, Missouri. There were congratulations from the guys, and I saw congratulations from the real people with love, the Johnsons, Bessie Haynes. I saw congratulations from Roberts Electric. Congratulations went on and on. The MC last night was the eminent Ben Tipton, who was certainly at his best as he stood tall, like he always does. But he was so honored to be the MC at this occasion. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I passed by the Thompson's Temple at 6 o'clock, and people were parking then. When I returned at 10 minutes to 7, you could get a parking place nowhere near. I could not believe my eyes. I pulled off my glasses and I looked and I said, Lord, where are all these people coming from? Ben Tipton and I went to the platform and I sat there, and all at once I saw a choir. I say to myself, I'm going to count the number in this choir. And that choir came in marching, and they had so much spirit, I forgot how to count. And I just sat there in amazement. They immediately went to the stand under the direction of Brother Johnny L. Hill. 200 or 300 pounds of musical skill, musical know-how. He came there twisting that body from every direction, bringing out every note that was imaginable. Ladies and gentlemen, I have never seen anything like it. When Sister Sapp walked in there in that long, beautiful white chiffon dress with a $1 million smile, and she was escorted in, and people were standing, it was something to see. Now, her family had come in, a brother from California, a sister from Dallas, friends from all over the United States. I had never seen anything like it. Now, Reverend Guy gave the invocation, and it was a prayer. And Reverend Guy looked good in a complete white suit with a red tie. But then there were some hostess there that were actually beautiful and some handsome hosts. I saw the Oklahoma City ushers. These, I don't know what you call them, but those ushers are the people that continue to serve. Then Onita has just informed me that's a citywide usher. Yes, and those ushers were busy last night. And what amazed me about the whole crowd was the diversity of it. Young babies, and one lady touched me and said, Miss Luper, I'm 92 years old and I'm here. Middle-aged, teenagers, toddlers, walkers. I have never seen anything like it in the history of reporting. Now, I know that Oklahoma City turns out for funerals, but this was not a funeral. They had come to honor Mrs. Sapp. The introduction of the Master of Ceremonies was eloquently done by Brother John W. Reed. I had the opportunity to bring the welcome, and it was certainly an honor for me. And I was just so happy to stand up there and welcome people from all over this country to this big celebration. But, ladies and gentlemen, there was a minister there by the name of Reverend James H. Tucker, who sang Amazing Grace. Now, you haven't heard Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace had legs and wings on it last night, as Reverend James H. Tucker did the Tuckerite to the Amazing Grace. It was unbelievable. Now, I am not going to try to tell you about that golden gospel mass choir. I could not dare tell you the feeling, and I cannot describe the eloquence of the young men that played the piano, the organ, and the drummers. I cannot tell you of the basses and the tenors and the sopranos and the altos. I just hate you were not there. It was something that you see once in a lifetime. Now, there were many presentations that were given to Mrs. Sapp last night. Organizations, trophies, and one exciting thing happened. She was presented a cake, and everybody was so excited, and my friend presented the cake, Mrs. Tommy Dale Houston, and she was so excited. Let me tell you what she did to that cake. She dropped it in the pulpit. Dropped. And then after she dropped it, Mrs. Sapp, in a dignified way, smiled. Oh, it was just beautiful. But let me tell you what happened this morning before 7:30. Mrs. Tommy Houston called me and said, Clara, I have the cake, and I'm fixing to take the cake. And she brought it. Have you ever heard Sister W.E. Jeffries sing, this is my song, this is my song? Sister Jeffries tore that church up last night. Well, Reverend H.L. Guy certainly did some introductions that were unusual. And I would like to tell you that what I saw, I'm going to tell you after I present Mrs. Shaw, I'm going to tell you what I saw that I didn't think my God would let me see in this world. Ladies and gentlemen, last night there were many people on the program. And there were many different stories that were told in honor of Mrs. Sapp. And I was so impressed by all of them. I wish I could have had all of them on radio today, but I could not. And I asked Mrs. Shaw, Mrs. King, to come here today. And I wanted Mrs. King to talk to you. First, Mrs. King, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling fine, Mrs. Luper, and very proud to be with you.
Well, I'm proud to be here because I don't want those Church of God in Christ people talking about me. I'm apologizing. I was wrong. They had the people there last night.
Yes, we did. We had them, we can say wall to wall, somewhere close to 3,000 people, 2,000 to 3,000 people. And I'd rather say about 3,000.
All right, there were 3,000 people. There were 500 in the choir. Now look here, how did you feel last night when you stood up there in that beautiful red dress with that white corsage on? Tell me how you felt.
Oh, I just can't explain it. Being able to serve such a mass of people. I've done this serving before, but not with that many people. And the cooperation that I received from the young ladies and the young men that work with me, I just want to express my thanks to them if they are listening.
Who were all those pretty people and those handsome men that were there with you?
All right, the two handsome men that we had was Mr. Rudy Murray, and I believe that he's a teacher in one of our schools, and Mr. Ernest Bird. Our young ladies were Mrs. Joyce Guy, Miss Angela Garrett, Janice Anderson, Diane Thomas, and your humble servant, myself.
All right, you all were there. That Rudy teaches out to Jefferson School, and I want to tell all his students that he had on a tux last night that was out of sight. And some of the other people were there. I saw Apostle Barry here from San Francisco, Nettie Young from Stockton, California, Bishop Larry here from Florida, Willie Stewart from Dallas, Texas, Francis H. Madison from Illinois, and I've never seen anybody make a piano talk like he did. That piano last night, when he got down there and started playing, what did you think that piano was going to do?
Oh, we just relaxed because we just enjoy him so much. He's been with us in our service, and we just think he's a masterpiece in his work.
He is certainly the best I've ever heard. I have never heard anybody make a piano, walk, talk, sing, dance. It was something. And last night, I'm going to tell you after wow, what I saw last night that I didn't believe I'd ever see in my lifetime. But Mrs. King, I want to call you Shaw all the time. I always do. That's your maiden name, right? I'm going to call you Mrs. now King. All right, now Mrs. King, certainly we know that Mrs. Sapp is a queen. And it would only take a queen bee. And that queen bee must have sown some seed to bring all those people out on a Saturday night. Because that was something that was unbelievable. Who ever heard of 3,000 people of all ages coming out on a Saturday night? Nobody's heard of that. And I said I was from Hartford, but you Oklahoma City people haven't heard about it. And one thing about it, we got to stop talking about what people won't do. People go where they are fed, and they were certainly fed last night. What did you think? How do you think that Mrs. Sapp really felt last night?
You know, I think she really felt good because in this time of her life, that support that she received last night, it will take her further, and it will give her another hope, and it will give her a more assurance that the people love her and that the people has never forgotten her in these 50 years of her singing.
Who was that friend of hers that flew in here from Los Angeles, I think, and last night she took the orphan and gave her $150. I understand she'll be running a revival here.
That was Madam Brown. And she has known Madam Sapp for years. And she had said she wished that she would have been able to just talk about her as she know her. She will be running a revival for us this week at the Evangelist Temple Church of God in Christ, which is located at 2200 North Bryant. And she is an old friend of Madam Sapp.
I wish I had some $150 friends out there in radio land. Where are you, my friends? I'm telling you, Miss Sapp had the friends. They gave her trophies of every description. They gave her flowers. They gave her gifts. One lady came up and said that some years ago, Mrs. Sapp fed her, and she brought her $5. I know Miss Sapp will be able to do more with that $5 than you can imagine. But Mrs. King, I want you to do for my radio audience, 600,000 of them out there in radio land, what you did last night.
I did last night a poem entitled Be the Best. This poem, Mrs. Sapp has always told me she loved. And quite often she would ask for me to say this poem. And it is entitled Be the Best. And it is by Edgar A. Guest. If you can't be a pine on the top of a hill, be a shrub in the valley. but be the best little shrub by the side of the rail. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. If you can't be a bush, be a bit of grass, and somehow way happy you make. If you can't be a musket, then just be a bass, but the liveliest bass in the lake. We can't all be captains. Some have to be crew. There is something for all of us here. There is work to be done, and we've all got to do our part in the way that's sincere. If you can't be the highway, then just be the trail. If you can't be the sun, be the star. It isn't by size that you win or fail, but be the best of whatever you are.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. This portion of our program is brought to you by Johnson Shardina's Daycare Center. 2 locations, 1643 Northeast 50th Street and 2611 Northeastern. For further details, call 424-4656. The Watkins Stevens Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home is located at 3203 Coltrane Road here in Oklahoma City. It's a clean, modern home for the sick and aged. 24 hours nursing service. Betty R. Lynch is administrator. The registered nurse and the director of nursing is Estella Bug. Phyllis Chambers, secretary. Anita Johnson is a social activities director. Hattie Young is your LPN. Sonora Majors in food service is a food service supervisor. Now, one thing we can guarantee you at the Watkins Stevens Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home, and that is service. Some of you are calling me saying you're being mistreated in nursing homes. You don't have to be mistreated. Go to Watkins Stevens Skyview Convalescent Nursing Home where you will be taken care of and your food will always be hot because they have a hot food court. Now, I want to make sure that you know what God let me live to see. Now, I'm from Hoffman, Oklahoma. Now, you got to remember that. I never believed that I would live long enough to see a white choir make black people shout. Now, I didn't believe that. Do you hear what I'm saying out in Radio Land? Last night, I saw with my own eyes the Norman Tabernacle Choir and their pastor. I heard that pastor say that one time there was an atheist and a Christian that were arguing over holidays. The Christians say, the atheists say to the Christians, say, why, you have a holiday, you got Easter and Christmas, we don't have any. And the Christians say, yes, you do, you have a holiday. You have April the 1st, which is All Fools Day, and anybody who does not believe in God is a fool. But then they start singing, we came here to praise the Lord, and I looked up, everybody was shouting. Black and whites were shouting last night. Had you ever seen anything like that?
This is Luper. I must say I have. There are visitors of our church quite often, and we know these people can sing, and they have shouted at our church, sang on our broadcast.
Well, I can say I haven't seen it in my church, and I'm a Baptist. Here come a Methodist. Have you had a white choir to come to your church and make people shout, Mrs. Hunter?
No, I have not, Ms. Luper. I have not had that. But I do know when they come to the black churches that they will be shouting because of the song that the blacks sing. And talking about singing, the First AME will be having a musical on the 20th, the third Sunday in this month. So you can come on out and you might want to do some shouting.
Okay, I sure would like to see them shout, but I know I'm a Baptist, and I go to Baptist churches all the time. I've never seen nobody shout like those people. I hate to say this, but I certainly felt like shouting, too. James Williams, an operatic tenor, will sing at 8 p.m. Tuesday at the Central State University Ballroom, and here's Onita with the funeral and death announcement.
Ralph Funeral Home announces the following services. Services for Mrs. Samara Adair of 2221 North Hood is pending with the Ralph Funeral Home. Funeral service for Mrs. Odell Mathis of 301 Northwest 25th is also pending with the Ralph Funeral Home. Temple Funeral Home announces the services of Mr. Ricardo Bowen of Oklahoma City is pending with the Temple Funeral Home. McKay Davis announces services of Mrs. Evelyn Johnson, 713 East Eubanks, will be Tuesday at 11 a.m. at the Tabernacle Baptist Church. Funeral service for Mr. Oval Russell Brown of Chandler, Oklahoma, which Mr. Brown was a painter there in Chandler. His service will be Monday, at 11 o'clock at the Curry Funeral Home is in charge of the service. I would like to say to the families tonight, in your sorrow, your pain, and your grief, we hear a voice saying unto you, my grace is sufficient, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, and that the power of Christ may rest upon you. Thank you, and back to Clara.
Thank you, Onita. Certainly, we talked about last night, but I had never seen a white pastor hold up his hand and say out loud that the great God took nothing and made something out of it, and to see the people shout like they did last night. But remember, I haven't seen everything, and you certainly haven't seen everything either. But those of you that were there last night, you saw something that you have never seen before. You've never seen people from all over the United States fly into Oklahoma City, bus into Oklahoma City, and some of them came by train part of the way and then got bus and came on in, and automobiles were everywhere. The calls are coming out here, and I hate to say this, but the calls that are coming out here are saying that something was wrong at Millwood on Friday night. These are the people that are calling, and the people have a right to express themselves. As adults, we cannot rejoice. I've never heard of a referee jumping up and shouting when one team scored. Now, Mrs. Hunter, did you see that? Now, this is what people are saying out here. Did you see it? You were there.
I saw it, Mrs. Luper, and I wondered why. Because, you know, my instructions for my judges, you do not even clap for a contestant. It doesn't matter if you do favor one. You do not clap. And I do not let them applaud for any of the contestants that they are judging.
Well, we are telling it like it is. I've tried to bring you the best in news reporting. I wanted you to know more than anything else about what happened in your city. And don't you ever forget that last night was a big night. And maybe the reason that people don't honor us and come to our church is we don't do enough. I would like to say that those of us that are Christians better get up off our constitutions and do something, because someday we're going to have to stand beside Mrs. Sapp, who has certainly made a contribution. We're going to have to stand by her, and where we will stand. Clara Luper is looking at the clock on the wall, and once again, I'm begging you adults, see to it that your child is in school, keep your child off the street, and we can do something about crime. Whatever you do and whatever you say, Mrs. Sapp, just remember we love you. Don't forget NACP State Convention Friday and Saturday. Bye-bye, and I love you.